The pistol shakes in his grip. Crows scatter like accusations across the yellow wheat. Vincent presses the barrel to his chest and pulls the trigger. Pain rips through him, but he walks back to the inn anyway, blood staining his coat. 37 years old, no money, no buyers for his work, letters to Theo full of apologies. "My life is attacked at the root," he had written weeks before. This shot feels like the end of a decade of trying. It almost is. Vincent van Gogh was a Dutchman who turned to painting because nothing else fit. He wanted his canvases to capture the raw ache inside people, their quiet joys, their hidden hurts, through thick swirls of color and line. But he was too intense for most. People called him odd, unreliable, a man who argued too much and washed too little. For 10 years, from 1880 to 1890, he painted nearly 900 oils and over 1,000 drawings, mostly on credit from his brother Theo. He moved constantly, from cold Dutch villages to noisy Paris streets to sun-baked southern France. Almost no one bought his work. Only one painting is known with certainty to have sold during his lifetime. Vincent kept at it, driven by a need to make something true, even when it broke him. Before painting, Vincent had tried other lives. At 16 in 1869, he worked as a junior clerk for Goupil and Ca, his uncle's art dealership in The Hague. He memorized catalogs, wrapped prints of landscapes and portraits, charmed customers with stories about the artists. But by 1873, transferred to London, he fell hard for the landlady's daughter, Eugénie Loyer. She turned him down flat. She was already engaged. Vincent spiraled, quoting the Bible in letters to her, ignoring sales quotas. His bosses noticed. Back in Paris by 1875, he spent days staring at canvases instead of selling them. "I no longer feel the vocation for it," he confessed to Theo. Fired in April 1876, he wandered Amsterdam streets, penniless, sleeping in cheap rooms. That summer, he tried teaching at a boarding school in Ramsgate, England. He arrived eager, carrying books of sermons, but the boys mocked his thick accent and solemn face. He quit after only a short time, too drained to face the headmaster. Back home, he clerked in a Dordrecht bookstore, arranging theology volumes late into the night. Customers complained he pushed religious tracts too hard, and dismissed again in 1877, he moved to Amsterdam to study for the ministry like his father. Cramming Latin and Greek under his uncle's roof, he preached practice sermons to empty chairs. But exams loomed, and doubt crept in. His voice cracked, his notes trembled. He failed the entrance test twice. By late 1878, desperate, Vincent went to the Bornage, a grim coal mining district in southern Belgium. Assigned as a lay preacher, he lived in a smoky hut, gave away his coat and shoes to miners' families, and slept on straw floors. He crawled into flooded pits after explosions to pray with the injured. Church elders called it overzealousness. "You're too emotional," they said, dismissing him in July 1879. Alone in a Kesme's attic, he burned some drawings in despair. To Theo in July 1880, "I have kept silent for a long time. I feel like a complete failure." At 27, everything he touched crumbled. No job held, no love returned, no path clear. He borrowed money for paper and started sketching miners' faces in charcoal, stiff lines, dark shadows. Even that felt wrong. In October 1880, Vincent scrapped together train fare to Brussels. Theo sent 20 francs a month, enough for bread and a garret. He enrolled in the Academy of Fine Arts, copying plaster casts of Roman gods under harsh gas lamps. His hands shook from hunger. Drawings came out crude, figures lopsided. Classmates whispered about the tall Dutchman who muttered Bible verses during critiques. Instructors shook their heads. No sense of proportion. He lasted 3 weeks before dropping out, too ashamed to ask for more help. He moved to Eton, his parents' parsonage, in December 1881. There he sketched the Brabant heath, gnarled trees, muddy paths, in watercolor that bled like wounds. Then came Key Vos Stricker, his widowed cousin, visiting for Christmas. Vincent fell instantly, seeing her as a holy figure from Dickens' novels. He proposed in a fever, "Key, I love you." She recoiled, "No, never, never," and fled to Amsterdam. Vincent followed in November 1882, pounding on her father's door in the dark. "Key is deaf to me," he shouted. The lamp blew out. Family members forced him away. His father called it madness and threatened asylums. Drifting to The Hague that same month, Vincent rented a room overlooking the dunes. He met Clasina Hornick, CN, a former prostitute with a baby and a limp, living in poverty. He paid her to model, then moved her in, dreaming of a family. "She understands suffering," he wrote Theo. But arguments erupted over money. CN drank, Vincent starved. Dealers glimpsed his early oils, peasants in dim cottages, and laughed, amateurish. By September 1883, CN left for another man. Vincent burned sketches in the street, walked 50 kilometers in the rain to his parents' new home in Nuenen. There, in 1884, he painted weavers and shoeshiners, but villagers shunned him after he took Margot Begeman, a neighbor 40 years older, as a lover. She poisoned herself when her family forbade it. Vincent nursed her through delirium. The town whispered scandal. To Theo, "I am a burden. Everything fails." Isolation deepened. He painted alone, fingers black with cheap pigment, the weight pressing harder. Nuenen winters are a bit deep. In late 1884, Vincent's father died suddenly of a stroke, clutching his chest in the parlor. Vincent had argued with him days before over his wasted life. Guilt crushed him. He painted the church tower like a black omen. Then, in December 1885, a local priest banned models from posing. Vincent's nude studies of a butcher's daughter scandalized the parish. Dealers in Eindhoven rejected his batch of dark oils. Too gloomy, no market. He packed for Antwerp in January 1886, arriving with frost-bitten ears and empty pockets. At the Royal Academy, he lasted a month. Nude models froze in unheated studios. Instructors mocked his barbaric style, his gaunt frame in threadbare suits. "Go back to Holland," one said. Starving. Theo's money barely covered a loaf. He pawned his coat for paint. Self-portraits stared back, hollow-eyed failures. By March, he fled to Paris, crashing at Theo's cramped apartment on Rue Lepic. Vincent painted 200 pieces in 2 years, cafes at night, still lifes of onions. Critics panned them as violent daubs. He quarreled with everyone, drank absinthe to dull the noise. "I am a failure," he scrawled to Theo in 1888. "The public will never want this." South to Arles in February 1888, chasing light. The Yellow House on Place Lamartine became his studio, walls splashed with fresh paint, and he dreamed of an artist's studio, brothers in creation. But locals called him the red-headed madman. Postman Roulin modeled reluctantly. Gauguin arrived in October, funded by Theo, but clashed over Vincent's clumsy brushwork. Absinthe-fueled rows escalated. On December 23rd, after Gauguin threatened to leave, Vincent chased him with a razor, then turned it on himself, slicing off his earlobe in a blood-soaked haze. Police found him the next day, incoherent in a brothel. Gauguin fled forever. Neighbors petitioned his eviction. The house emptied. Vincent wrote Theo from the hospital, "I fear I am a burden. Perhaps it would be better if I were dead." Spring 1889. Attacks worsened. Hallucinations of flames. Lost days. He entered St. Remy Asylum in May, locked in a barred cell. Staring at blank walls, brushes untouched, he thought, "This is pointless. No one cares. Just end it." The attacks came like storms, but between them, Vincent picked up the brush again. Not for glory, for the olive trees outside, their silver leaves twisting in the wind. "Paint what you see, nothing more," he told himself in a letter to Theo, June 1889. No grand visions, just the garden path, the ward's irises. He worked in bursts, guards trailing him into fields, as if speed could ward off the dark. Colors shifted, blues deeper, yellows fiercer, but doubt lingered. "I work like a madman," he admitted, "yet it changes nothing." In May 1890, after a year inside, he transferred to Auvers-sur-Oise under Dr. Paul Gachet's care. The village inn cost 3 francs a night. He rented an attic, hauled his easel to wheat fields. Gachet, with his goatee and melancholy eyes, posed awkwardly. Vincent painted him twice, roots and portraits blurring into one. Sales? None expected. He painted anyway, one stroke after another, the habit holding him when hope couldn't. Auvers summers hummed with insects. In 70 days, Vincent finished 70 canvases, stormy wheat stacks, Gachet's foxgloves, the church spire twisting like a flame. But shadows lengthened. July 6th, he wrote to Theo, "My step is faltering. What will become of us?" On the 27th, he walked to a crow-haunted field, fired the pistol. Back at the inn, he told the owner, "Don't blame anyone." Theo arrived as infection set in. Vincent lingered 2 days, murmuring, "The sadness will last forever." He died at dawn, July 29th, 1890, 37. Theo followed 6 months later, syphilis ravaged, his widow Jo left with crates of unsold work. Jo Van Gogh Bonger unpacked them in Paris, 1891. She sold a few, quietly, to friends like Eugène Boch for 100 francs each. In 1901, a small Amsterdam show drew whispers, "Those colors, they move." By 1905, Berlin's Sonderbund exhibit sold out. Prices hit 1,000 marks. Jo's editions of Vincent's letters, 1914, revealed the man behind the myth, doubts, rages, persistence. Museums clamored. MoMA got Starry Night in 1941 for $80,000. Today, sunflowers fetch $40 million at auction. Over 2,100 works endure in every major gallery. Recognition came decades late, built on Jo's quiet push and the world's slow awakening. Vincent never saw it. He just kept painting. That field, that shot, it nearly silenced everything. But for 2 days more, Vincent breathed, spoke of art one last time. The canvases he made in exhaustion, in locked rooms and lonely inns, outlasted the rejections. They hang now, pulling crowds who linger, tracing the swirls like old wounds half healed. He didn't know crowds would come. He painted through the silence anyway. Not perfect, not saved, just stubborn enough to go on. Subscribe to TumbleTorch for more such smoldering stories.